Are we done having kids? How do I stay motivated after getting up at 4 a.m. every day? How do my husband and I still keep the love alive? Guess what? I'm going to be answering all of these questions and a whole lot more when it comes to my personal life, my motherhood, my business, and homeschooling. I'll have it all broken down by category in the description so you can jump around, but let's just jump right into it. Question number one, do I know of any good devotional books for women? It has been a while since I've done a devotional for women. I will leave a few links to some that I love, but if you guys have a recommendation, leave it below. I had a lot of questions about getting up early and staying motivated, so somebody asked, how do I start getting up earlier? Well, guess what? I have a whole video on this I will link below, but my 3 main tips are to, first of all, have a reason to get up early, like have something to get you out of bed. For me, it's coffee and having the coffee pot go off early and set it the night before, and it will brew at 3:45, so it's ready at 4, so it's not something I have to do in the morning. But that could be reading a good book, having a podcast ready to go, maybe your workout gear ready, the dog leash and everything set out if you like to take your dog for a walk in the morning, whatever it may be, or maybe a little snack ready for you right when you wake up, whatever that might be for you. Also, going to bed at a good time is also a huge thing. To getting up earlier, you need to get enough sleep. And then definitely start small. Start 5 minutes earlier. Do that for a couple weeks, then go 10 minutes earlier. Master that, then 15 minutes earlier until you get to the time you want. You're not going to be able to very easily just say, I want to get up an hour or two earlier than I already do and actually have it work, unless you have a lot of willpower, but most of us need to ease into it. How do you stay motivated? By nap time, I'm exhausted. Trust me. When I lay down my 4-year-old, we usually cuddle together in her bed. I would love to just take a nap with her. For me, I think a lot of people are like, you stay at home with your kids and how do you stay motivated? You get up at 4. For me, my business is my job. So I don't think most people ask somebody at their job how they stay motivated. You have to do it to earn your money so you don't get fired and all of the things, and to do a good job creating a better world or whatever it is that your job entails. So for me, that is exactly how I look at my business. It's how I've looked at it from the start, that I need to show up for it. Does that mean I don't move things around? Absolutely not. I'm always shifting things, but I stay motivated because I need to help pay the bills, quite honestly, and also I love it. So, and I think just having really structured days, which I have a whole video I just posted a couple weeks ago of our schedule and my 8 daily rhythms that really help when I have these times set aside of this is when I'm going to do this and this is when I do this, and I know I'm not going to get to them any other time, because I will be exhausted and my kids are up and all of the things. So I just kind of weigh the pros and cons. If I take a nap with my daughter, what things am I going to be behind on? Is the nap worth feeling overwhelmed? Not usually. Sometimes it is, and weekends I like to leave open, but I just like to look at my business as a job because it is, and I think most people can stay accountable at their jobs. And so if you look at it that way, or whatever it is that you're trying to stay motivated to do, find a way to hold yourself accountable and have a big enough why to keep you going. How do you manage to keep going all day, especially since you wake up at 4 a.m.? Is there anything you take or consume to keep you going? Not really. I mean, I do drink coffee, but my morning coffee, half the time, by the time I need to go get ready, I've only drank about a third of it. It's cold because I'm so in the zone of working. And then my coffee and my Contigo that I fill up at 4 a.m. but then sip throughout the day, often I don't even finish that. I think coffee for me, and I have super weak coffee. I do like a whole carafe for our coffee pot with just like 1 big scoop of grounds, so it's very weak coffee. To me, it's just more of a pleasure thing. It's just something I love that feels warm and cozy, and I just like having it with me. It's like my little crutch that I take with me everywhere. But I don't think it's really what keeps me going. I think what really keeps me going is just like I talked about, that I need to for my family, and if I want to fit everything in, I have to do these things at certain times. But trust me guys, there are plenty of things I don't do well. I don't clean my house really well. I don't keep everything perfectly organized all the time. I'm not a yes person with friends and family. Like, I try to schedule things, but the more that's on my calendar, the more overwhelmed I get. So there's checks and balances, there's trade-offs and things like that. So you just have to do what works best for you. And the one that really made me laugh was, have you always been this energetic? I mean, honestly, yeah, I think I have. To be honest, like, I don't know if I've shared this on the channel. Back in middle school, my parents bought Photoshop for me on eBay, and I started learning graphic design. I made my own websites for like poetry and stories that I wrote, and I learned it all myself, and that was something I did for fun, which I don't know a lot of middle schoolers and high schoolers, especially back in the early 2000s, who were doing stuff like that for fun. It's just, I always am wanting to do more, and so the days when I'm sitting there thinking, man, I wish, you know, my husband had like an incredible job and I could stay at home and I wouldn't have to do anything, and then I know I would end up doing something because it's just my personality. I like to, if you're curious, I'm a type 1 on the Enneagram, so I'm constantly like trying to do better, make the world a better place, and, you know, make a difference in this world and with my life. And I'm an INFJ as well on the Myers-Briggs, so if that says anything to you about what motivates me and why I probably have, I don't think I have more, I don't know, maybe I do have more energy than the normal person. I really don't know. But I do get very tired. That's why I say I'm worthless after 7 p.m. I'm so tired and I don't want to do anything. So I have limits too. Do you know any good Christian podcasts that you would recommend? So I don't listen to a ton of podcasts because I only have so many hours in the day. So besides my Office Ladies and my I Am All In podcasts that are for The Office and Gilmore Girls that I listen to. Oh, there's a new one. Is there a new one? Oh, there's a new one of the I Am All In. Okay, anyway. But for Christian podcasts, I like to listen to, I don't have like a lot of specifically Christian, like it's just about Christianity type of podcasts, but I listen to occasionally some homeschooling podcasts, some business podcasts that are from like a Christian perspective. So I love the Stephanie Gass show, which is about creating like a successful podcast and a successful business for, you know, Christian entrepreneurs, women. And then I can link to some of my favorite homeschooling podcasts below, but I don't listen to a lot of just like strictly Christian podcasts. Do you ever have a bad day, or does your morning not go right as planned? No, my days are always perfect. My life is just super easy. No, I have bad days. I have days that get off track all the time. My morning routine most of the time is rock solid, but at the beginning of the school year, last year, my 4-year-old was coming down like constantly over and over and over and over again, and it was really wearing on me because I really need that time to just not have kids around me, to focus, to get some stuff done and just have some time to myself because I'm very introverted. And so yeah, that was really hard, and I had to really check my temperament and my mood after that, but we just worked on it and got through it. But yeah, I have setbacks, and I have times when, you know, I end up going out to eat with friends or something and we stay out late, so then I have to restructure what I was going to get done because I obviously need sleep. But I just move a lot of things around. Every single day I'm moving things around. Do the girls have any cousins? Are they close with them? So my girls are 3 daughters who are 7, 4, and 1, do not have any first cousins. My husband is an only child. My brother is 14 years older than me, and he does not have any kids. He's not married, so no, they don't have any first cousins. We do have a good number of second cousins that are close-ish in age. They're older, but they're, you know, some are still in school. A couple have just graduated or are getting close to graduating, but they do have some that are like first cousins because my husband's parents are both the oldest of big families. And then on my side, no first cousins. And I was never super close with my cousins because we lived further away. And so, you know, I didn't get to see them a whole lot, but, you know, so no, not a lot of like kid family, but we have a lot of fronties and frunkles, we call them, with kids that are like family friends that we grew up with or have become close with, that, you know, our kids know and love and are like family. Moving on to motherhood questions. Do we plan to have more kids? No, we do not plan to have more kids, but I always say my plans are up in the air. Like, I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't even have a 1-year plan because life especially the last 2.5 years. Like, you just never know what life's gonna throw at you. I really do not want to ever be pregnant again, which I feel so dumb saying because we went through infertility, so I know how much that can hurt people to hear. Somebody who is able to have kids to say, like, I'm done. I don't know, maybe that's not hurtful because I think we all have limits, but as hard as it was to become pregnant with our first child, pregnancy has become increasingly just horrific. I don't want to say horrific because I was never hospitalized, but it was extremely hard on my body, and I am pretty certain I will be hospitalized the next time because I am so sick. I can barely eat anything for the first few months, and it's just miserable. And then when you have your own kids to care for and you feel like you're the worst mom ever because you can't do anything, you're so tired, you can't eat, you can't even cook food because you're throwing up all the time. It was really hard. And then my last birth was, my epidural failed and I'm induced every time, which is not ever the birth I've ever wanted, but I don't go into labor until I've lost all my fluids. So it was very not what I thought it was going to be, and yeah, just really hard. I have a whole birth video if you guys are interested, but adoption is still on the table, but I just really don't know. But we are not at the time planning to have any more kids. Tips for getting kids to clean up after themselves. Huge mess in all rooms at the end of the day. My big thing is we clean up as we go. My kids are often with me all day, even if I want them to like go play. They just like hover around me. I'm like, I'm not that great. Go play, leave me alone. But they are always around me for the most part. So when we're done in an area, like if we play outside and then we're coming in, we don't go in until they're done cleaning up. And if we're in the playroom and then we're gonna go outside, we don't go outside until we've cleaned up the playroom. So my girls who often play in their rooms during nap time, my 2 older daughters, they get Kindle time from 2 to 3, or screen time, we just call it Kindle time. They do not get Kindle time until their rooms are clean. So I just build it into the day, and I do a lot of when then statements. So when you clean up your room, then you can have Kindle time. When we all clean up the playroom, then we can go play outside. And it's very motivating to them because whatever we're gonna do next, they usually want to do. So I just would encourage you to build in cleanup time all the way through. I also have a really good cleaning up with kids hack in my most recent hacks video. I will link below. I'll leave you to go find it, the hack in that video, but it's really good. I'm staying at my in-laws for 2 months. She's awesome, but doesn't let the kids do art inside. Any ideas? She's worried the kids will put color in the carpet walls, even though they're pretty good. So my biggest thing, obviously, be respectful. You know, you don't want to break their comfort level or whatever, but I would encourage octagon play pens, especially for like sensory bins or Play-Doh, kinetic sand, stuff like that. That gets really messy. I even do stuff like that in the octagon playpens because I just don't like having it all over the floor. So at least then it's contained and you can just quick vacuum up that. It has a built-in floor. I'll link to one of those below so you guys can know what I'm talking about. Other than that, maybe, you know, doing art outside wherever you live, if it's nice enough to do stuff outside, hopefully they would agree to that. And then we use art trays, so they keep, you know, when we're painting, they keep their paper on there, sometimes their paint if it'll fit. I get those from Lakeshore. I'll link those below, but those would be my 3 main things. And then, you know, maybe just saying, can we try this one thing? And if that goes well, then maybe we could try another one a different day and just kind of ease into it. But hopefully that helps. How do you manage time management to get things done around the house as well as finding time to give attention to your kids? So I'm just going to point you right to my 8 rhythms video. That's how I do it all, and how I fit everything into my day, which includes time with my kids and being a present mom and also running a business. What ways do you self-motivate during the day to keep going, and how do you deal with a high energy child when you yourself are exhausted? So I think I talked a bit about self-motivating, but when it comes to high energy kids, you guys don't see a whole lot of my kids on my channel. Trust me, anybody who knows my kids knows that they are all 3 very high energy kids, have been from the start. And so That is hard on me just because I'm introverted, so I feel like being around their extra energy sucks away a lot of my energy, and I love them to pieces. It's not about whether I love them or not, it's just reality of being an introvert and being around people with a lot of energy that I need to like keep alive, especially my 1-year-old right now, like at the playground. Oh my goodness, she's just wild. So I can totally relate to that. I think, you know, if I'm exhausted, I just try to set them up with activities to do, or we try to fit in reading, or we go outside, and I just tell them, I'm really tired. I'm gonna sit here for a little bit. I'm gonna read. I think for me too, like scrolling on my phone doesn't work well around my kids because they I feel like they want more of my attention, but I'm trying to read more around them. And I think they kind of understand the concept of if you interrupt somebody a million times when they're reading a book, they cannot read more than a sentence. Obviously my 1-year-old doesn't get this concept yet, but my 4 and 7-year-old, like if I need to usually be doing something and then they'll play better usually. But if I'm just sitting there doing nothing or on my phone, then I think they just feel the need to want to get my attention. So finding ways to busy myself, even if it is just like reading a book or meal planning or just pretending to write, but they think I'm actually doing something, and I'm saying like, Mom's working on this, you can go play right here, I'm right here if you need me, but we don't need to constantly be interacting all day. I've been really reminding my kids of that we can be around each other and still love each other's company without interacting and talking the entire time. How do you find time to connect with your husband? First of all, this is very hard for us as well, especially my husband does not have a consistent job. He never has, where he works like these days, these times. His days off are different every single week. His hours he works can be 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. or it can be 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. or whatever. Like it's really different day to day, week to week, which gets really hard, but that has been our life the entire time we've been married, the whole time we've had kids. So that is hard. We try to sit and talk at the end of the day a few days a week. We aren't perfect at it. We don't schedule it in. It's kind of just when we need to. And then we try to build in date nights. So my kids do spend the night at my parents' house 1 to 2 nights a month, which has been so nice. And if my husband is off that evening, we will do a date night. And that has been really, really nice to get out of the house, to talk, to just connect. But other than that, like we don't have a lot of connection time, and I think it is important, but I think it's also important to be realistic of the season you're in. And if you have little kids and you're both working, it can be really hard. So just trying to build in those times. We do text a lot throughout the day, which I do think counts for something. Like we know intimate details about what's going on in each other's day, but as far as like sitting and cuddling, like we don't do that a whole lot right now. I think it is important, but it also, we just are on crazy schedules and sometimes it just doesn't happen. How do you work Bible time in with your kids? We are homeschooling, so that is part of our homeschool routine. We did Heart of Dakota curriculum this past year, so we have Bible stories we were reading every day. We have Bible verses we're learning, so it's just part of our day. Before homeschooling, I always would read Bible stories, like a Bible storybook, to our kids, usually separately, because I wanted it to kind of fit whatever level of comprehension they can understand. So we would do that right before bedtime. Like we might read a few books together, but then when we would, you know, go to lay each child down, we would read like a Bible story and a devotional with them and kind of talk about it with them. So that's a great way to fit it in. You could do it at breakfast, you know, however it works for your family. I also have a really good podcast episode about fitting in like godly habits and fitting in, you know, prayer time and stuff like that into your day when you have a busy schedule. I will link that below. What age would you recommend reading chapter books aloud for kids? So I would start, I started really young with my first, and it was just a disaster, especially we were trying to read All of a Kind Family, which is kind of an older book and the language is older, and we had a baby at the time. Like my oldest was probably 2.5, 3, and was disaster. So I would say, you know, depending on the child and depending on the book, you know, 3 to 4. But obviously, especially if it doesn't have pictures, I would not expect them to sit next to me and listen to it the whole time. I would, you know, do it while they're playing or in the bath or reading, you know, doing something active where, you know, they can actually listen, but their hands are busy. I love the Mercy Watson series, Sophie Mouse. We just started and our 4-year-old loves it. Also, you could start with doing audiobooks in the car or during meal times. We love our Yodo player. I will have a link to my video on that, but my 4-year-old loves those. She listens to them as she falls asleep. So that can be another way to kind of get them used to audiobooks before, you know, you start reading them if you want to do that. But there are tons of great chapter books for younger kids. So I would say around 3 to 4, depending on, you know, how well your kid enjoys books and how well they can kind of like listen and actually understand what they're being read, understand what's being read to them. How do you deal with frustration and anger? I definitely get very frustrated and angry a lot, and I think I have had harder seasons, especially, you know, dealing with postpartum depression and anxiety on various levels after I have all 3 of my babies. I would say my second, I didn't really experience that. Maybe a bit later I did, but with my first and third, I think, you know, that first year, especially my first, I had really bad, but my third, I think just with the pandemic and starting homeschooling and just all kinds of crazy things, you know, happening, that I think it was really, really hard on me, and nursing issues. So how do I deal with it? I try to lower my expectations on certain things, give myself space if I need it. Like, I obviously still need to get my business, keep it running, but I try to kind of move things around, see what I can batch so I'm not doing as much each day. Ask for help from friends and family if able. And then, I don't know, sometimes I get to a point where I just have to be like, Sarah, snap yourself out of this. We got to figure this out. Fitting in my Bible time has helped a lot. And just those self-care times, I think when I kind of let those kind of go by the wayside, then I notice that I'm not being as patient with myself or my kids, and I'm letting, you know, triggers trigger me and kind of just react without being cognizant of my reaction. What other parenting accounts do you follow? So I was looking through like my Instagram and my YouTube. I don't follow a lot of like just straight parenting accounts. I have found, as a mom now for over 7 years, parenting books sometimes, and parenting accounts especially, sometimes just leave me feeling inadequate and like I must be doing it wrong. Like when I try those tips, it doesn't work with my kids or what have you. And I sometimes feel like maybe my kids are just way different than other kids, or maybe I'm just not good at whatever they're suggesting. But I found, like, I like to take little bits and pieces, but I found that each kid is different and our home is different and our personalities are different, and we need to try what works for us. And so I don't follow a lot of like straight parenting accounts. I do follow a lot of like homeschooling accounts, which I can list a few in the description, which are kind of like parenting accounts too. They're definitely a philosophy and like a lifestyle around motherhood that is really like gentle and Christian based and things like that, but I don't follow a lot of parenting accounts anymore. Moving on to business. So what made you want to start the subscription box? That is a very good question. I honestly don't remember when the idea came to me. I just knew I wanted to do something with my business, and I've been wanting and learning for a long time about starting a physical products shop of some sort. I've wanted to do coaching, I've wanted to do a membership, I've wanted to do a course, and so in a book club, and like all of the things. And this was kind of a way to put all of those ideas into one thing. And that is how the box was born. Where did you start when starting your subscription box business? I started with Julie Ball's podcast Subscription Box Basics, and then I did pay to take the course Subscription Box Bootcamp that taught me step by step how to start my subscription box. So I will link to those both below. What video editing software do you use? So I use Adobe Premiere Pro, which you can get, like, I already had to pay for Photoshop and Lightroom and, you know, various other apps for my business. So this just comes with the cloud service that you pay for monthly. So that's what I use, and it works really well. It is, I think you can use it on Windows or iOS. I'm not exactly sure, but I think you can. You seem to print out a lot of stuff. What is your printer's name? So our printer is a couple years old, but it is an HP Envy photo printer, so it can print photos, but it also can just print regular paper, and I really like it. It prints really fast, and I haven't had any issues with it, and it wasn't super expensive. Where do you find vendors? There are lots of ways to find vendors for your subscription box. There are actual like databases that are for wholesale vendors like Fair and Tundra. But you also can just look for products and reach out to the manufacturer yourself. There are, you know, especially if you have a certain type of box, maybe you're going to be buying a lot from one vendor. There are also, you know, lots of different wholesale like fairs or marketplaces that you can actually go to that are held like every so often throughout the year, where you can go and actually see products and meet vendors that you can work with. There's lots of different ways to do it. I've also sourced products from Alibaba, which is, you know, a lot of vendors from China who are actually manufacturers that you manufacture stuff and they send it to you. So there's lots of different ways to do it. You just have to kind of start looking, start researching, and find the right vendors for you. What are your suggestions for a stay-at-home trying to make extra income? It really depends. There are a bazillion different side hustles and things. I'm going to have a lot of videos, and especially follow me on Instagram because I like to share side hustle ideas for different types of professions, but also I'm going to be sharing ones for different hobbies and things like that, just to give you guys some ideas. If you like a certain thing or you're good at a certain thing, what kinds of side hustles you could do. But some good ones would be, like, if you want to make money fast, it would probably be doing something, you know, working for an online business of some sort, or doing something where you're getting paid by the hour. But if you want to be able to scale it someday, I would definitely recommend starting some kind of business, whether it's like an Instagram account around a certain topic or a YouTube channel around a certain topic, because as that grows, you can do a lot of different things with that, like a digital product, physical products, a course, a membership, coaching, affiliate marketing. Like, there's so many different things you can do under that one business umbrella, versus, you know, if you're working for somebody hourly, you can only scale that so much, but it is quicker to start and make money right away. Can you start a YouTube channel with an iPhone 11? Yes. A lot of people film on their phones. Definitely don't let having the perfect software and gadgets and technology stop you from starting. Phones have come a long way. I think a lot of people wouldn't even notice, and I think it's better to start with low grade equipment than to not start at all. And then I think iMovie on your phone, if you have like an Apple computer, you can get iMovie on there. That's free. I started my channel 8, 9 years ago now using Windows Movie Maker, and I did that for a couple years before I started using an actual software. But I think there are some cheaper ones you can get that you don't pay for monthly as well. Okay, lastly is homeschooling. How often do your kids see other children? Trying to find balance. First of all, they see other children 24/7 because they have siblings in their family, so I don't think we should ever discredit the sibling relationship as not being other children. Those relationships are incredibly important and teach our kids a lot. But when we're talking about kids outside of our family, we see other kids a lot. First of all, I've been watching, you know, since I closed my daycare in spring of 2020, I have still had at least 1 to 3 kids coming to my house for all of that time, except about 6 months. So I've still been watching a kid to 3 kids here and there. So they were seeing those kids a lot. And then we have been very active with, you know, Awana. My daughter was in Girl Scouts. We're going to be doing dance again. We have birthday parties we go to. We were in a co-op that we did once a week, so we were seeing kids there. We see kids at church. We see friends. We see family. So I'd say most days of the week we are seeing other kids. You know, maybe 2 to 3 days a week we don't, but I would say most of the time we're seeing other kids. When you were thinking about homeschooling, were you and your husband on the same page about it from the beginning? I wish I could remember like the actual conversation, and I don't know what made me finally be like, I want to homeschool. But I just got to a point where you know, my daughter did public school. Our oldest did public school for kindergarten. I just had a new baby and I closed my daycare, so I didn't even know it was going to be a possibility. I could homeschool. It is something I've always wanted to do, but I never thought I really would be able to financially, and not having a daycare, because I just know my limit and her limit. We could not do them at the same time, at least not in the capacity of daycare I was doing. But I think seeing kindergarten during the pandemic and not seeing much going to be changing for that next school year, which was this past school year we just had, I was like, you know, I think I want to try homeschooling. And my husband at first was like, I don't think we really need to, but then we had a good conversation and we wrote out a pros and cons list of each, and I think he was just like, well, let's try it and see how it goes. So he wasn't like ever supremely opposed to it. He just, I don't think, really saw the benefit of it until I explained it more to him, and what it would mean, especially like having time with him because of his schedule. He's not off most weekends, and so when our daughter's in school and he's having a day off, she's missing that time with him, and he's missing that time with her. So I think that was a huge driving force for us as well. So when he saw that, I think it motivated him more. And, you know, I don't think it was ever an issue of, could I teach our kids? I am a former teacher. I think he had full faith in me being able to teach our kids. I don't think you have to be a former teacher to homeschool. It's just, I am naturally good at that. So that, I guess we were not on the same page, but we were never like completely divided, if that makes sense. At what age did you start preschool workbooks with your kids? So I loosely started preschool workbooks with my 4-year-old this year, and by preschool workbooks I mean like reading stuff, but we weren't very consistent. She was going to preschool, and then I started watching 3 Extra Kids, and it was just too much. So she's 4 going on 5. She's going to be a very old, like the oldest kid in her grade, so she's going to start her 2nd year of preschool this year. She'll just be turning 5 in late September, and so we'll be doing a lot more this year because she seems more ready and willing. But I didn't do really any workbooks with my oldest. We did stuff through daycare, but it was a lot of like hands-on learning through play and stuff like that. And then lastly, what curriculum do you use for homeschool? So I have a whole video on what curriculum we used this past year and my thoughts on it and what we plan to use for this year. But the short answer is, for almost everything we're doing Heart of Dakota. This year we'll be doing Beyond Little Hearts for His Glory, which is for ages 6 to 8. This will be my daughter's 2nd grade year. And we're going to be doing early American history will be our history, and then the science, Bible, handwriting, poetry, all, you know, literature is all based around that. And then for math and actual like phonics, language arts, we're doing The Good and the Beautiful. We did that last year and we just really liked it. It clicked really well for her. So that's what we plan to do. And then I'm doing with my 4-year-old, I started the reading lesson. Teach your child to read in like 100 lessons or something like that. I'll link it below. It's a workbook, but it's like hands-on. They draw on it and stuff and match and stuff like that. So that's what I plan to do with her. I just want to see how that goes before. And I also have The Good and the Beautiful's preschool curriculum as well, so we'll probably try that as well. But she is going to preschool 3 days a week as well this school year, so that is the plan. If there were any other questions I did not get to that you want answered, please leave them below. Thank you so much if you sat through this whole thing. I'll be back to our regular content next video, but thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.